Hello everybody, welcome to the channel. In this video we are taking a look at Marvel Epic Collections New Mutants Volume 2. So if you watched my previous video on Marvel's Epic Collection you will know exactly what it is. If not, it is essentially a case of Marvel taking their most popular characters and teams and reprinting their stories from issue 1 up to whatever. Now, in this case, we are talking about the New Mutants. Now, who are the New Mutants? Well, easiest explanation, they're the Junior X-Men. Whereas the X-Men themselves are senior students, or in some cases members of staff, that make up the X-Men squad and go off and do all kinds of superhero type stuff. The New Mutants are younger students who are deemed to be too young and too inexperienced with regard to their powers to be part of the X-Men team. As such, they are supposedly confined to school grounds so that they don't go off on any adventures and get into any sort of trouble. Of course, this is not what actually happens. So, who are the members of the New Mutants? Well, when this particular volume starts, there are 4 members. There were initially 5, but by this point they have already lost 1 member. So the 4 we have got are Mirage, Wolfbane, Cannonball and Sunspot. Mirage is mutant Danielle Moonstar, and she has the ability to reach into people's minds, find whatever it is they most fear and create an illusion of it that to that person seems completely real. Now, as we go through the volume, she receives training and is gradually developing her powers so that she can do other things. Wolfbane is the young Scottish mutant Rain Sinclair, and she is basically a shapeshifter. She can turn into a wolf, an actual wolf, and when she does, she has the wolf's abilities of heightened hearing, heightened sense of smell, her eyesight is better, and she also is able to track people in this form, and she has a transitional form as well, which is part way between her human form and her wolf form. Now, depending on which artist you get will depend on what this form looks like. It may look like a wolf with a human face, hands and feet, which looks really weird, or it may be, once we get to artist Bill Sienkiewicz, this form may look like what we would basically call a werewolf, a furry humanoid with a scary kind of wolf face. That is basically what that version of her is. We then have Brazilian mutant Roberto da Costa, who is the mutant Sunspot, and he can essentially store solar energy from the sun and use it to give himself superhuman strength. Now, he looks very interesting when he's using his power. He essentially looks like a sort of living shadow. And the 4th and final member is Sam Guthrie from Kentucky, who is the mutant Cannonball, who along with Mirage is co-team leader. Now, what he does, he can create what I think they call a thermochemical reaction and basically turn into a sort of human rocket. From the waist down, he looks like the jet engine of a missile or something like that, blasting through the air. Now, he has a lot of trouble with his agility. He has a lot of trouble controlling his direction, controlling his turns, making safe landings. But he also seems to have some sort of force field that protects him from harm, along with anyone or anything else that he is carrying. So that is the team as of the start of the volume. Now, one of the interesting things about this particular volume is as we go through it, we pick up several new team members. Now, the first one is called Amara, and she becomes the mutant known as Magma. She is from a city called Nova Roma, which is an ancient Roman city which is hidden away somewhere in the Amazon jungle from the rest of the world, until, of course, she meets the rest of the New Mutants. And then she comes along to the school to learn how to use her powers and become one of the team. Now, next up, we have got Illyana Rasputin. Now, if you watch the X-Men films, that name may sound familiar because she is the younger sister of the X-Man Colossus, who is Peter Rasputin. Now, again, she's a very interesting character with a very interesting history. When she is about 7, she is kidnapped by a demon called Belasco and taken off to his demon kingdom of Limbo. Now, while she is there, her mutant ability kicks in, which is the ability to use these sort of teleportation discs, which they call stepping discs, but she has to go, at least initially, she has to go via Limbo. So she would have to create a disc which took her to Limbo, and then a second disc which would take her from Limbo somewhere else. Now, time passes differently in Limbo to the rest of the world. So although she's actually there for what to everyone else is a relatively short period of time, for her, she is trapped in Limbo for about 8 years. And while she is there, she has to learn how to survive, and she does that by learning magic, or she is taught magic, I believe. And this eventually allows her, along with I think 1 or 2 other people, to displace Belasco, and she becomes the ruler of Limbo. She basically becomes a demon sorceress. So along with what she eventually gets as her teleportation power, she is also a demon sorceress. So that is magic. I mean, that's her name, I don't mean that is magic. Next up, we have got, well, he's not a mutant. In fact, he's not even a human. He is an alien creature. His name, as far as we're aware, is Warlock, and he is from a race of kind of techno-organic creatures. They're basically like living circuitry. And Warlock has the ability to change his shape and his appearance so that he can look like whatever he wants to look like. And then finally, we have a character called Doug Ramsey, who is a friend of Kitty Pryde from the X-Men. And he is an expert at any type of language. He can decipher any type of language, whether it's human, whether it's animal, whether it's machine, whether it's pictures, whatever it is. If it's something that can be interpreted as a language of some kind, he can eventually translate it. So those are the New Mutants as we end up with by the time we get to the end of the book. Now, story-wise, what sort of stories do we get in there? Well, if you watch any of the Marvel TV shows, you may have seen the Cloak and Dagger show. We get a story in here with Cloak and Dagger. If maybe you've been watching the Legion TV show, we get the first appearance of the character Legion in here. We also obviously have some stories that tie in with Limbo, and we also have stories in which they go shooting off to the other side of space. But perhaps the best way of describing this and giving you an idea of what's in here is if I read this little bit of blurb on the back of the volume. So, it says, visionary artist Bill Sienkiewicz transforms the New Mutants, and the young heroes' lives will never be the same. New recruits Magma and Magic find their footing at the school, but when the team tries to rescue Kitty Pryde from Emma Frost, will they all end up as members of rival mutant team the Hellions? Then, the demon bear that haunts Danny Moonstar bares its teeth. Will the New Mutants survive the bear's ferocious attack? And if so, can they make a new friend in the alien called Warlock? Plus, a cosmic caper introduces intergalactic rock star Lila Cheney. When Sunspot and Wolfsbane are in danger, only Cloak and Dagger can help. Professor X's son Legion makes his mind-bending debut, and an old friend / foe makes a shocking return. Now, in addition to the characters mentioned there, they mentioned Emma Frost, who at this point is a baddie. She's part of the Hellfire Club, who are rivals and arch enemies of the X-Men. We also get appearances from characters such as Dazzler. We get Professor X turning up, obviously, because he's doing the training. Nightcrawler pops up, as does Colossus. And Magneto also pops up on several occasions, as he has a storyline going on that we dip into as we go through the volume. So essentially that is the Marvel Epic Collection Volume 2 of New Mutants. It builds up the team an awful lot. It's the start of Bill Sienkiewicz taking over artist duties, and obviously follows directly on from Volume 1 and sets up several interesting stories to follow in future volumes. So Volume 2 of Marvel's Epic Collection New Mutants is over 500 pages long. It contains 20 issues worth of material. That's 19 issues of New Mutants and 1 New Mutants annual. As well as the stories, it contains a large number of behind the scenes, if you want to call it that, sketches and various bits and pieces of artwork by the artists that work on it, as well as several character portraits. It costs, according to the back, it says it is $39.99 US dollars or 52 Canadian dollars. Now in Britain that works out at about £33.50. However, I bought my copy, or pre-ordered my copy in fact, from Amazon. This is Amazon UK obviously, and it works out about a third cheaper. So I think it worked out about £23.20, £23.30, something like that. So if you want to pick it up, that is possibly the place to do it. So there we go. That is Marvel's Epic Collection New Mutants Volume 2. Now, if you enjoyed this video, hit the thumbs up below. You can follow me on Instagram for photo updates. And if you don't want to miss out on whatever I get up to next, then hit the subscribe button. And hopefully I will see you in the next one.